it was truly that like this is the person that I never knew I needed. And then and then you dump me. So I'm like, ah, dang.
Hi, I'm Eden,
And I'm Michael.
and we are
Majorly Married.
Today, we're going to be talking about how we knew that. Okay, how I knew that you were the one,
And how I knew that you were the one.
How we knew that.
And how
we
I
were the
knew
one.
that I was the one for you, and how you knew that you were the one for me, and then how we all knew that we all knew together.
You have been reading children's books.
How did you know they were the one? That's
Yes.
the topic that we want to jump into.
Last episode, we asked people to tell us some of the questions that they had, and this was one of the questions that we got. Was from somebody asking about just kind of our experience and the things that we decided to really focus on when we were establishing our relationship.
How did we settle in the good way on each other?
Yeah. Because, to be
Hold
fair...
on, real quick. Settling. Have you heard?
Right
No. Have you heard of like the reaching? One person's a reacher, one person's a settler.
Isn't that like How I Met Your Mother?
Yeah, I think they talked about that. Like, somebody's always the reacher, somebody's always the settler.
Yes.
I think as we were watching How I Met Your Mother, we had that conversation before.
Yeah.
Where did we land?
I remember feeling like I was reaching when it came to like, especially like your level of lifing. You were adulting much better than me.
And I was reaching when it came to like EQ, emotional intelligence. Honestly, also just, like, was it physical intelligence? Just intelligence. I don't know. You, as you can see, I think you were, I don't know. I think it actually is related to this because I don't actually think there is truly this like dynamic of one person up here, one person down here. Like somebody is reaching for this like 10 out of 10 while this other person is just settling for a 3 out of 10.
That's probably not a great relationship dynamic.
No. And I think if it like in stable marriages, in long lasting relationships, I think it is also, it's not like, oh, they're perfectly equal. I think it's this like much more nuanced, if you want to think of it analytically, like this like calculation of like, no, I'm reaching in some areas that you compliment me, and I'm settling in areas that like I feel confident in myself.
And there's a lot of shared in the middle.
Yeah.
It's not that everything is like, you've got this, I don't, I've got this, you don't. There's also a lot of things that are...
a ton of overlap.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's super interesting, but yeah, I think this topic made me think of that, like reaching, settling.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
You're like, okay, moving on.
No, I just didn't know you were going to say that. I was like, where is he going with this?
The point is, I settled for you, Eden.
I guess, and I
settled for me.
Really settled for you.
All right, let's settle this.
Okay, let's dive in. So there's going to be a couple different things that we're going to really dive into, some main like categories. As we were talking about our relationship and the different conversations we had, the different things we encountered. In our very short dating relationship, I think we dated 7-8 months.
We dated like 7-8 months, but
then we were engaged like 9 months. Let's be real.
No, 100%. But maybe it's a podcast for another time.
It is.
But I think we got like multiple years of dating in that 9 months.
Yes, I agree with you. And we had all of these conversations, which I think are valuable, and not everybody gets to all of these conversations.
Yeah, so you bucketed it, like, as we were starting to talk about this, you were like, hey, I think there's like these like 5 categories. What are those?
So we're going to talk about the emotional compatibility. A compatibility when it comes to just like values, morals, things like that. The physical compatibility is a big component. Spiritual compatibility, different worldviews, and making sure you're aligned on that. And then lastly is lifestyle. So a lot of
And
subcategories, but
did you say values?
yeah, I said
Okay,
values.
yeah. I think all of those. There's 50,000 sub bullets that could live in all of those, but
And there's no shot we're gonna actually be able to like fully dive into
no,
any one of these. I'm sure there will be spin-off episodes.
We are touching surface level, like some quick hits on all of these. There can be each of these can be
Yes.
their own discussion.
Yeah.
But I think altogether, these categories and everything in them were like almost all of them were like individual conversations or multiple conversations that I think all combined led us to know you are the one I want to marry.
Yeah. I think what's interesting, this first one to start off with, I do think was internal more than conversational. So when we're looking at emotions,
Okay.
that initial feeling of butterflies, the I'm in love feeling, I think that's important to have. Like you should probably, there are some types of relationships that don't start on the basis of being in love. I know like arranged marriages and stuff exist, but
100%.
and I don't want to say those are not stable, strong, healthy marriages. It's just a very different
No,
paradigm.
they can be.
And if you are pursuing an arranged marriage, this is probably not the best guidance for you because I have no idea how to go about doing that.
Yeah, that's not something that we are super familiar with.
But yeah, from a lot of couples, it's this idea of like, I'm so in love with them. And there are love songs written about it and poems. And it's kind of this like huge sweeping concept. And everyone wants to be in loved and everyone in love and everybody wants to be loved. So, yeah, when did you feel like you were in love? Was that early? Was that late?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think I've ever truly been able to be like, and this moment was the moment that I fell in love with you. I think it was
It
just
wasn't
something.
my butt walking out the door.
I was in love with something. I think so. For anyone who doesn't know, the like super quick TLDR is after
This is
we.
not a business meeting.
Well, I know I can no because we can expand on our dating
Yes,
story
okay.
for forever. We went on 3 dates, and then you dumped me. And then we were not dating for 3 months, 4 months, and then we got back together. So in that like first period of time, it was like, wow, this girl is amazing. It was truly that like this is the person that I never knew I needed. And then you dumped me. So I'm like, ah, dang. I set a calendar reminder, as you know. I set a calendar reminder to reach out. Never did it.
Because you were dating someone else. Someone moved on.
I think it's also because you slammed the door shut. Besides the point, when we got back together, we started going on a lot more dates, more frequent. The first set of 3 dates was over the course of like 3-4 weeks. We started going on like 2 to 4 dates a week. And I think it was like after that first month, I think that was when I was like, this is somebody I actually see myself being with. Like, this is somebody who we already had like 1,000 conversations at that point. And I loved every minute of it. And I think it was like, yeah, like a month afterwards, I was like, okay, I'm in love with this person. I'm in love with the person that they are. I'm in love with your values. I'm in love with your personality, your body, all of these categories. I was like, yes, 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 yes. Now I didn't know like, absolutely everything about you in that 1 month. but I think I'd hit that phase of like, I'm in love.
Yeah. And I mean, you told me like 5 weeks after
Yeah,
starting dating. You
I
told
think
me
it
that you
was
loved
that
me.
like 1 month afterwards.
And I did not say it back right away.
You didn't have to.
So yeah, I think for me, it was, I mean, I broke up with you the first time. And the butterfly.
Because you were too in love with me.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I think the butterfly feeling definitely came for me actually after we broke up, when I started thinking back.
When you started dating other people.
When I started dating other people, and I was like, that Michael guy was different. And you were so far outside my box that I didn't even know how to picture myself with you when we first started dating. And that's kind of why I called it, that I was just like, I can't. Like, this is too much of a reach for me. Reaching up, reaching out, it was just outside the box.
Yeah, it was outside your type, if you will.
Yeah, in a lot of categories.
Yeah.
And coming back to the relationship, I pursued you. I told you that I missed you and I wanted to be with you, unaware of all the ramifications of that. And I felt the stakes were really high. So for me to not have full-fledged in love feelings right off the bat, but to also still want to date you, when I could tell you were falling for me.
Yeah.
And that felt like a lot of pressure, but I had to be kind of honest with myself and pace myself. So I think it was like a week later, I did tell you that I was falling in love with you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that initial feeling is super fun. And when you both, especially when you both feel that like butterfly in love, how do you feel like that emotional aspect, like how did it maintain? Because I feel like we've heard of the honeymoon period, where it's like, oh my gosh, I've just fallen so deeply in love with this person. And every couple who's been together for any long period of time is like, I mean, you're in the honeymoon phase.
Well, I do think to a degree, I think we're out of the honeymoon phase, but I'm still very much so in love with you.
Yeah.
I don't just like wake up and choose you every day out of obligation. There's still butterflies that happen on a regular basis. I think a lot of that has been cultivated through the way that we choose to pursue each other still, and the time that we choose to spend together.
Yeah, and I think even going back to dating, yes, we were engaged 8 months later. But even in that honeymoon phase of, call it, again, we've talked ad nauseum about our dating story, and I even mentioned it, how it felt like 2 years and 9 months. But when I would say our dating honeymoon phase like ended, the way that I also saw like that emotional aspect, that butterfly in love maintaining, is going back to something that you had mentioned when talking about this topic, which is like how they love you, like how you loved me, like the way that you showed that you loved me, like you just said pursuing, but even just I don't know, it's like all the little things. It is how you spoke to me, how you cared about my emotions, how you made sure that I was doing okay at work, and just every little thing that was like how you loved me. And I think that kept the butterfly in love going, and it hasn't stopped.
Yeah.
Like, sure, yes, the like, this is brand new, this is fun, oh my gosh, I'm falling for somebody, like that is no longer here. I've now been with you for a while. It's not new, but that butterfly feeling, it's still there. It's still there every day.
Aw, every day.
Yeah.
That's really sweet.
You're like, I only got Tuesday, Thursday,
Shut up. Shut up.
and every third Friday, but
No, I think also the things that give you butterflies starts to change over time.
yeah.
Seeing you with our daughter gives me butterflies, and that's different, obviously, than when we were dating.
Yeah.
I think the way we show up for each other is a big part of falling in love. There's the butterflies that I think can happen because they sent you a text, right? Like that early, there's like dog hair on my face. Okay.
We live in dog hair.
We do. I was saying, like, oh yeah, so like just sending a text, regardless of who it's from, when you're like talking to a boy at the beginning, you're like, oh my gosh, it's a boy. Like you get butterflies over nothing. And those, I think it becomes more substantive over time.
Yeah.
And the way you saw my heart and you were protective of my heart without being like possessive. You were not possessive and you were not codependent at all. At all. It was weird to me how independent you were in your love for me. That also is something I do want to dive into sometime separately because I think it's important to factor that into a relationship.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were you, and I was you. You freed me to be me, and I needed that. And that was, I think, the biggest marker for me that you were the initial like he's the one, was when you set me free to be me, and that just built my respect for you a ton. And I got to see you stand in your own strength and not need me for strength.
Yeah. So to sum up the emotional piece, like it's an internal thing, but sometimes if you know they're the one is, do you have that butterfly feeling? Do you have that in love feeling? And then it's almost a time factor. Like after X amount of time, if you feel like the honeymoon period has ended, do you still feel that?
And it's not necessarily does it get more passionate. I would say, does it get more substantive? Does it get deeper and richer because of the things you're going through?
And I think it feeds directly into these other categories.
Yeah. So the next category we were going to talk about is values.
Yep.
And this one is huge. I think this is more important than butterflies because butterflies can fade.
Butterflies is the... I think, like, look, you gotta have butterflies. Like, that, you gotta, like, feel the love. And, again, like, we're talking about a very Western, traditional love marriage that we're basing this in.
Yeah.
But now how do you start to, like, build the foundation? Love is great. Infatuation is great for a period of time, but you can't rely on that as the foundation. Like, well, we love each other even though we don't have the same morals, philosophy on life, politics, family planning, like all of those things. It's like that's not in my opinion, purely my opinion, that's not a great foundation for a long-term relationship.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I wanted to call out is when we talk about morals, you hear a lot of people, especially like I talk to my girlfriends, right? And it's like, he's such a good guy or he's such a narcissist. Like these are the statements. They're either a narcissist or a good guy.
Extremes.
Yeah. There's like very rarely
I'm a good narcissist, so.
That's dangerous. I think taking that moral compass deeper.
Yeah.
Not like, I mean, yes, ask the questions like, do they steal, kill, whatever? Like, sure, let's rule those out too.
A good basis, like start with the 10 Commandments. Like.
assuming they're legally,
do they abide the law of the land?
I remember one of the conversations we had that established kind of moral accordance. I don't like we're
what a word.
In alignment with one another.
Right.
Was when we were talking about like restorative, redemptive justice. Where was this idea of...
I talked about that?
You did. You don't remember?
Wow, that's a lot of big words.
We were talking about like believing that the justice system should be about
there should be like grace, and it should be about rehabilitation instead of punishment.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah, but it's having those discussions. It's taking topical things in the news, like, whatever. If we want to take, it can hit many categories, but like the killing of Charlie Kirk and like, what do we believe about that? And you can determine some people's morals based on that. Yeah. Like, oh, I think that was pretty horrible.
And why?
Yeah, and why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the other big ticket items on that one would be, I mean, I think politics kind of falls in line with
I
morals a
think
lot of times.
I think especially today, I don't know 100% how like it is with like Gen Z if politics are still heavy. But I think we're millennials as we get older. I think as anybody gets older, politics becomes more important and more of a larger factor in people's lives.
Yeah.
And I think in the political climate we're in today, it's probably even more important because uh, everyone's so polarized that unfortunately,
A house divided would be a huge deal.
yeah, I don't know how it would truly work unless you just really put politics aside,
Yeah.
which some people do.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm pulling this notebook closer to me so I can read because I'm a little blind.
Yeah,
Finances.
finances.
That's kind of like financial philosophy, sure,
Yeah.
but also the actuality of it. I remember the first time you asked, oh, it makes my stomach turn. You asked me about debt that I had.
Dun dun dun.
And like that level of conversation, not just like, do you believe in saving? Sure. But when I was
As a
talking
concept,
about
it sounds great.
like how I've been planning for retirement, I was in ministry for free for
You're like, God will provide.
and you were working
Because
in,
I'm not.
you were working in the corporate world. So we came from two very different financial backgrounds.
Yeah.
So aligning on our future expectations and how to also maybe make up the difference and what are the expectations of who brings in money, what we do with money. Money's a big source of conflict for a lot of couples.
And that one is, it's a lasting thing that keeps popping up.
Oh, forever.
Forever. I mean, unless you are in the position of like money doesn't matter, like whatever you have.
Then we should be friends.
Yeah. Whatever. You're retired, money is no problem, like great. But for most people in society today, finances is a huge deal. And it is going to continually be a huge deal. Like, do we accept a new job and move to a different city because it will pay more money?
Yeah.
Because we'll be able to afford extra, like all of those things.
I think a really good recommendation would be trying to apply a budget together while dating or engaged, and seeing how closely your actuality aligns with your vision.
Yeah.
Because that can be, you can sit there and be like, I think it would be great. I'll talk about myself. I think it would be great if I didn't spend as much money eating out. And I have never, ever succeeded at that goal.
Yeah, and I spend money in frivolous ways here and there as well. But it's something that, like for us, at the very least for us, it's something that has to be continually talked about. And it's a value that we aligned on while we were dating. But let's be real, we've had to align on every single year, every single month pretty much. And we're aligning nearly every day sometimes.
Yeah.
That's something that like we want to keep open and we have to keep addressing and make sure that we're on the same page, because I think it's one of those that like we can drift apart, back together, apart. Like we got to keep making sure that
then you open up the cards and you go, oh my gosh. Yeah.
For both.
And that also starts to apply to how you want to come together with your finances. If it's a shared bank account once you're married, if it's separate bank accounts, those expectations matter in a big way. Because if you're expecting, oh, it's going to be a joint bank account and your income is my income, and then the other partner is like, whoa, 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 that's my income. Prenups, things like there are big financial factors that are other than just like how much money do we want to spend on rent.
Yep. And then I think one of the last values that we had written down was family future vision. Family planning, I think, is massive. Everybody I think knows about having like the kid conversation. Like, do you want children? How many children do you want? Aligning on that. after we're having our first. I mean, that's something that, again, it gets readdressed too. Like, do we want 3? Do we want 2? Do we want 1?
Yeah.
It's something that, like, yes, we align, but that was also years ago, and that was before our life today.
I think that at this stage, when you're talking about values, is a really important time, if you haven't already discussed it, to discuss abortion.
Yeah.
Because
Whether
in the
you
talk of
believe or
family
not.
planning, if the family planning does not go according to plan,
Yeah.
what's going to happen then? We had some pretty lengthy conversations about the nuances of that, not just is it a life at conception or not. It wasn't just that conversation. It was all of
It was
the,
part of it, but it was, yeah.
yeah. So I wanted to call out that part as something that definitely should be addressed. And then also, family planning involves extended family too, and what your expectations are for spending time with family, for prioritizing outside of your
And if
unit.
I think it's also like prioritizing which family sometimes. Like, you know, I think we've settled on the every other Christmas type of thing. But how much time, like my family is in a state
Yeah.
away.
You
Like
live
how
in the
much
same state as mine,
time
and-
do we allocate? How much time, money, resources do we allocate to visiting my family versus, you know, it's very easy here where we can go and visit your family every week.
Yeah.
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 It's very interesting. What's next?
Next big bucket is physical compatibility.
Yes. That's not what I was saying. I was just trying to get physical. That's a different podcast.
So, talk about sexual compatibility a little bit.
Yeah, I think personally, sexual compatibility, your expectations, your views on it, I think it's all important in a long-term relationship, and a marriage. So I think that, I don't know, I think it's something that, like, one, I think it's important to find the other person attractive. Two, I think it's important to talk about expectations of, you know, sex and cuddling and touching and physical touch in general. Some people are not actually big fans of physical touch. I think early on we did the like love languages thing, and one of my love languages is physical touch. I love physical touch, and you do too. And so I think it was like, oh, that's cool. It's a little compatibility thing. And then, yeah, expectations on how many times are we hoping to have sex a week? Are our libidos mismatched or not? Because I think that can cause frustration and friction. I think in all of these, it is, where is it possible to cause friction?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean like you have to have the exact same. It is also okay if one person's like, I want to have sex 5 times a week, and the other person wants to have sex 1 time a week. That can cause friction in a marriage, but you can also overcome that with communication, with compromise, with other various solutions.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what do you think of?
I think one point that's really valid is there's not one specific way to establish sexual compatibility. I think a lot of times when people hear sexual compatibility, they think of like taking it for a test drive and being like, all right, does this body work for me? That is a route that is fair and valid,
Yeah.
but it also doesn't speak necessarily to long term. That can be a
It can be one fun time.
yeah. And then the other thing could be just conversations about it. Understanding what someone does know, understanding any past experiences, things like that.
Yeah.
And sharing as much as you happen to know. For those who are abstaining before marriage, I think you can still have valuable, deep conversations about it, even if that's guided by resources, whether that's, you know, a marriage counselor or some good books. I think that's necessary. It's a necessary conversation because sex is a huge part of a long-term relationship.
Yeah. And then the other aspect that goes with that physicality, I think, is desire and chemistry. I think it almost ties back a little bit into that like emotional, like butterfly and love. I think there's a piece of that of like I mentioned, that attraction, that desire. We both find each other attractive. We are both desired. We both desire each other.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. And I can't, I'm not an expert. I can't speak to, exactly what happens when that diminishes or fades. But I do think it's important, and I think it's important if we ever feel like it is fading. And we've had times where, we're like not on the same page. Just in general, like emotionally, whatever. And it can affect chemistry, desire, physicality. And when we do finally like realign whatever, it's like there's a discussion that's needed. There's a discussion that needed to happen, and we finally had that discussion, and now we're like on the same page. I think yes, it actually does also like, it's like throwing a log into a flame. I mean, it does reignite the desire and chemistry. And I think as we keep talking, I think it's this, I'm finding it very interesting that it's like all of these little sub bullets goes back to like this thing can be affected by a different category sub bullet. Because as I was saying that, like the desire and chemistry, it's affected by a value conversation that we need to have. Value conversations can be affected by, physical desires.
Yeah.
They're,
For sure.
They're all interconnected. A marriage is not a straightforward guide of like, do step 1, do step 2, do step 3. It is, you're going to be jumping around.
Spider web, it's all connected.
It's all connected.
Yeah. When I think about chemistry and compatibility, I think being turned on by the other person is important. Even if you're not being sexually active with them, recognizing that your body responds to them is a good thing. And that response does not have to come from physical touch, per se. But it can also come from physical touch. I remember holding hands with you the first time and being like, that's fun. And I think just acknowledging that is a good, fair thing.
Well, we were at the aquarium, so I mean, I bet that's what made it more
We
fun.
did not hold hands at the aquarium. I was angry because you didn't hold my hand at the aquarium.
And then I kissed you at the end.
You kissed me instead, and that was a lot. I needed to hold hands first. Anyways, that right there, good conversation. Really good conversation to have to be like, hey, so
that's
I'm gonna
why you broke up with me after the third date.
Yeah, that was date number 2, date number 3.
But date number 3, we held hands.
We did hold hands, and I did get butterflies, and I said, whoa, Nelly.
Bye.
No, I think that's actually, that is its own episode, but I would love to be able to dive into that, but I can't. I think not being afraid of the fact that there's physical attraction for some people, especially coming from purity culture in my world.
Yeah.
It's not a bad, evil thing. It's a good thing. And it is not something you have to be afraid of. Maybe something you have to rule, but not necessarily something you have to fear.
Yeah.
Not something you have to fear. It is not something to fear.
Yes.
And then, so going along with that, I remember having a conversation with one of my friends where I was talking about how I was really attracted and really trying to figure out whether or not I wanted to be with this person and just really on the fence and like conflicted within myself. And she was like, well, do you want to have sex with him or not? Like, is that something that you'd be interested in?
Are you physically attracted?
Well, no, it was taken because I'd be like, yeah, I'm physically attracted to them because I had this and like, do I think they're cute? Was like a version of physical attraction. But almost
like, would you take it all the way?
Yeah, like, do you want to take his clothes off?
Yeah.
Like, do you want to jump his bones? And I was like, no.
Wait, Oh, okay. You're not talking about me, right?
No, I'm not talking
Okay,
about you.
okay,
I'm
okay,
not talking
okay.
about you. I'm talking about someone else. Aren't you
Okay.
glad I'm talking about someone else? And I said no to them.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's not to say just because you do want somebody, they're the one. Lord have mercy. Please do not decide someone is the one just because you think they're hot and sex is good. That is not the only qualification this whole
See
thing matters.
category 1. That's the butterflies. That's the fun. That's the honeymoon period.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that part is valuable. One of the things that we didn't say in there that I do want to address is also addressing just sexuality as a whole. Asking, some uncomfortable questions probably about like knowing like, hey, are you straight? Are you gay? Are you
Bisexual?
bisexual?
Yeah.
Have you explored other things? In my circle, a lot of people had started coming out recently. And it was really important to me to be like, hey, so I'm aware people change.
Yeah.
Have you,
You're like, Michael, are you gay?
like, please tell me. And talking through about like what would happen if one of us decided later on down the road, like just those conversations, as unfun as they are, I think are also important to be just transparent about and
Yeah.
just aware.
Yeah. What's the next major category?
Spirituality is huge.
Yeah, and like your worldview. Yeah.
So for people who are religious, that is kind of like the bedrock of their identity, how they build their life. If you don't have that in common, you're probably not going super far, without a whole lot of other stuff as also the foundation. Like I do know some couples who have different religions, but the majority choose to have an aligned religious background.
I forget what my mom always said. I think it was like the evenly yoked
Yeah.
piece for Christian couples.
Yeah. I think it applies to a lot of different religions.
Yeah.
We definitely had conversations about where you came from, where I came from. It was different. It wasn't entirely
backgrounds
different, but
they had overlapping pieces, but their starting points were definitely different.
yeah. And then talking about the future, those were lengthy conversations. Again, whole new
Hours
podcast
and
someday.
hours. Yeah.
But definitely, I was going through a process of kind of deconstructing and working through what I believed, which is a hard moment to make a decision on whether or not you want to spend the rest of your life together with someone who is breaking down what they believe.
Again, that dating episode, we can go through that, but that's why you broke up with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were going through that like worldview change, and you're like, I don't know what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting time to try and come together. Like, for me too. Like, you were having this crisis of like, I don't know. I don't actually know like 100% where I sit in my views. And thus like I don't know 100% where that's going to be in 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And so we had that interesting navigation of like, well, where do we fall back on? And I think we fell back to like, what worldview, what morals, what values do we want to base our life on, or just our views in general on? And they kind of fit with that spiritual and like worldview.
Yeah. But if someone's going to have a view where they're like, I expect to be in church every week, I want to have these sort of values taught to my kids. I mean, that was a factor in one of your relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the relationships I was in, it was like the only other long-term relationship. That was eventually what ended us, is this idea that like she was LDS and I am not.
Yeah.
And I think we were starting to think through like, okay, what does that look like? And I think we both came to the conclusion, admittedly, probably me more than her, which was I don't actually think that's compatible. And it's something like I don't want to do to you. I don't think you want to do to me. I don't think we want to do that to our potential future children of having this confusing like household where there's this separation in what we believe, what our worldview is. So I think it's a very, very important category that I think everybody has to discuss. And I think, though, all of these, everything, everybody weighs these differently. Some people weigh spiritual, religious views as like, that's 90% of a marriage. Some people weigh that as it doesn't matter. So for us, it did. It was a factor.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think sometimes the religious worldview component, the religious worldview component does affect every single other one of these categories. So whether or not you officially have that conversation, you are having the conversation. It is becoming evident by the way that they live their life and the other things that they choose to value and prioritize.
Yep.
And if they're saying one thing and then doing another, that is also worth calling out.
100%.
Anything else to add on that one?
No, I think that one there's, 25 different pathways and they're hyper specific to your relationship. Talk.
Yeah.
That's the key. That's the key in all of these. It's like we said at the beginning, it's like every single one of these is 1 to 50 conversations.
Yeah, conversations and action. Talk it and walk it, I think, are the big pieces.
Yeah.
So speaking of walking it, lifestyle.
Yeah.
Lifestyle is the last big category, and that encompasses a lot, but it's where all of these ideals come to a head, and you start saying, okay, how does that work in your day-to-day life actually?
Yeah.
So there's some deep stuff in there, obviously, but there's also just lighthearted stuff that some people really catch that stuff early on, and it's why they start dating.
I think of this sounds, maybe this is stupid. I think of this almost as like the Tinder profile. And the reason I say that is it is some of it. I would say, like you just said, the surface level things where it's like, I love to travel. It's like, okay, I love to travel. If you were like, I hate traveling, I don't ever want to travel in my life. It's like, oh, okay, well, but I want to travel. It's like, that's a compatibility issue.
But I mean, even within that, so like, I think that's where it gets deeper is like finding out, like, when you say travel, you mean backpacking. When I say travel, I mean bougie hotel.
100%.
Like,
what do we mean by travel?
Yeah, because that's not on the Tinder profile.
Yeah, but again, it can be. You see the pictures of the dude hiking, and you're like, yeah, I'm not trying to hike.
I swiped past every single one of them. I'm not trying to hike ever.
A dude holding like, a catfish, and you're like,
Swiping.
Not trying to catfish.
You had a picture of you with your dog and then you with your family, and I was like, deal.
And then when we really started talking, and I sent you a photo of me and my nephew, me and my nephew, and you were like, oh my gosh. That's what won you over.
It is.
And then you dumped me.
I just leave that alone. I married you. I birthed your child.
But you dumped me.
I did dump you.
You got one over on me.
I was the only girl to dump you.
Yeah, I made up for it by dumping other people.
Okay, we really got to get back on topic.
Lifestyle.
So, yeah, some of your interests and your hobbies, whether or not you care
whether or not you
traveling.
dump somebody or...
That's not the point.
I'm just kidding.
I think interest is valuable because when you're talking, this ties into one of the other ones. So I wrote down interest, but then I also wrote down time spent. So I am interested in singing. I currently spend 0 time singing. And so that's different from someone who is in a band. or whatever, where it's like actually something that factors into their week. Somebody saying, I like video games, and then you find out by I like video games, they mean I wake up and I game until I go to sleep. And I hope I get to talk to you somewhere in there on my potty breaks. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. It is like those are two separate things that can be tied together. Going back to like love languages, quality time is a love language. And I think to some people, what does that mean? Is it sitting and watching a TV show together, or is it like active conversation? Um,
and if quality time is lower on the list, does it work well for people to have separate hobbies where they separate from each other quite a bit? And that doesn't affect the stability of their relationship. Whereas if someone is highly quality time and that's like number one or number two for them, having totally separate hobbies could really start feeling like it's tearing at the relationship. So dig a little bit deeper than just what are you into?
Yeah, honestly, on that note, that was something that I had to like think through. And what I mean by think through is like I grew up with divorced parents. I saw families, but I didn't see the day-to-day like how does a mom and dad like interact? How does a married couple like interact 24/7? And so I didn't have that view of like, well, what does happen in a relationship? I've seen examples where I know couples who it's like they go off and do their own hobbies. We ended up spending like 95% of our time together. We weren't like, all right, it's Saturday morning, like you go and do your thing and I go and do my thing and like see you at 9 p.m. Like we're like, what are we doing today?
Because we did have a lot in common and quality time was high on our list.
Exactly. Quality time was that it was high on our list and we wanted to make sure that we had quality time. And we've also since then like dug in on that of like sitting and watching TV. Sometimes it's quality time, sometimes it's not.
And we'd rather be off doing our own separate things.
Yeah, and I think it's taken a while in our marriage. I think honestly, only in the past like year, I would say we started, or I'll speak for myself. Like I started to get more comfortable with that idea of like us going and doing our own thing for 5 hours.
Yeah.
Outside of like work,
Yeah.
of course, like I go and do
Yeah.
my own thing.
But work is also a good topic there. Aligning on, work expectations. I remember telling you that I grew up with a dad who turned down business travel opportunities and promotions because he really valued being
Family time.
at home with his family, being able to take time off to go to our volleyball games or go to our football games and whatever. That's not the only way for a dad to show up for his family.
No, and I mean, you've seen, I work sometimes like very 8 to 5, but sometimes I'm like popping on at 8 to 10 p.m. Sometimes I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm like, I want to get this thing done. And that's just who I am.
It was really important to you to be available to your work kind of whenever they needed you, with boundaries if
With
it got
boundaries,
over the
100%.
top, and they've never pushed that.
Yeah.
But I had to acknowledge that you were not going to be
That-
off at 5 p.m. every day,
That was something that you had to like, we had to discuss. Like,
especially
And it-
because it's
it-
not what I came from.
yeah, you had built this expectation of like, no, you get off work at like 4:45, 5 p.m. and then you're done. You shut the laptop and you don't open it again until Monday morning. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I know that was something that you had to get over and we had to discuss a lot. Is how do we handle work?
Another piece of that is somebody comfortable being a stay-at-home parent or not? That was a huge conversation for us too, coming from a very homeschool traditional background where the majority of the moms I knew were stay-at-home moms. And how many stay-at-home moms did you know?
Maybe one. I don't know. I don't even know if she was.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
don't
so
know.
we had very different, just like preconceived notions of what it looked like to be a couple and working and everything.
Yeah.
So don't assume,
No.
ask.
These are conversations that just have to happen. Like, when we have a kid, what does that look like? What does our life look like? And again, you may not know. Like, look, some people might be getting married when they're 20 and they're not planning to have a kid until
You're
they're
going to change
30.
so much.
You're going to change. And what you may plan now might be different 5 years from now. All of these, we try and keep in constant communication, which works for us. Like, we love talking to each other about intellectualizing a lot of things.
We have this right now where we're choosing to talk to each other for fun.
But I still think it is important, like, even like acknowledging, like, well, I don't know who I'm going to be when I'm 45. I don't know who I'm going to be. Or a 20-year-old saying, I don't know who I'm going to be when I'm 30.
You started making some pivots recently on some of the things that we had originally talked about as like, hey, I might want to go a different direction with this. And it's been like, whoa, pump the brakes. I'm sorry. That's not what we talked about.
Yeah. But we're talking about it now.
Yeah. And I think what I was going to say about that is that that's why all of these conversations are important. Because maybe while you're pivoting on that front, you're not changing who you are as a person. And you are my person. You are the one. You didn't become the one for me just over that one singular issue, right?
No.
And so I can still understand your heart and your mind and your lifestyle and everything impacting that choice.
I think it's where, like, we had mentioned this on the last episode, but I think it's something we'll probably mention. I'll at least probably mention, like, every time. It is that, like, falling back on the foundation that you've built. We have built the foundation on our values, our a lot of these, our values, our in love, our physicality, our worldview. And so, yes, when one of these small topics, let's just say like politics, if I'm like, ooh, I'm leaning hard this way, and you're like, whoa, I'm leaning hard the other way, like, there's going to be friction, but at the very least, I know who you are. I know the foundation of our marriage is not based on solely politics, that we will continue to discuss, and we'll probably end up finding common ground if we had this political discourse.
Yeah.
But we keep going back to that, and we keep having these discussions every day.
Is there anything else in that lifestyle category that you see as valuable to just talk through before we?
I think the last things are probably like the deep things. You had written down, and we had sort of prefaced conversation with about substance or trauma, like last episode. Health,
they can go
in
together.
general. And then, like, emotional baggage.
Yeah, I think when it comes to those things like physical health, mental and emotional health, that is something that, as much as you can know about, stuff's going to happen down the road that you have no idea about.
100%.
And there's really no way to prepare for that.
Nope.
Let's just be fair. But if there's past stuff, to be transparent about it, I had to be really vulnerable with you about some stuff. And the way that you responded to me was very healing. And
I think it's that lesson of leading with curiosity. If you mention something, I'm not like quick to judge. I'm like, tell me more.
Yeah.
Why did this happen? Why did you feel that way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that piece, recognizing someone's baggage and what they're bringing to the table, because their baggage becomes your baggage. And you can lift it together, right? Yeah. But you never want to look at something and be like, hey, can you like actually shove that back in the closet? Because like, I don't want to deal with that. That's not okay. You have to be willing to let that person bring that into the light, right? Not necessarily that's like, keep holding on to this for forever. Like, maybe it's time to let some of it go, but bring it into the light.
Therapy helps the baggage become lighter.
Yes, I'm a big fan of therapy. And then the substance use issue, I think, is sometimes it's like initially, I had a lot of guys talk about it quickly on like dates where it's like, so like, where are you at with like drugs, alcohol, whatever? but the why behind it never really got talked about. It was like a checklist item, right? Where it's like, oh,
Do you do alcohol?
yeah, do you
heroin?
smoke? Like, I never had someone ask me if I did hair. I don't think I gave off heroin vibes, but maybe. Maybe.
No, you don't.
Um,
Crack? No.
I'm gonna stop.
Alcohol? No.
Un poquito.
Socially.
But yeah, just aligning on use, number one.
And
But
then belief in it. Like your parents, they don't drink alcohol. They don't like to have alcohol in their house. Like,
my mom doesn't even like the smell of alcohol, so.
and my family breaks out the alcohol at every event. It's not like, drunk. It's like celebratory wine.
Yeah. And it's a polite thing to do.
Oh yeah. Do you want wine? Do you want a glass of wine?
Yeah.
That's a nice offering.
It's a housewarming gift. It's like, yeah. And both are perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But if I was to show up into our relationship and be like, no.
If I'm like, oh, I have a glass of wine every night, and you're like, I don't do alcohol and I don't want anybody around me doing alcohol or whatever, it's like, ooh, that doesn't really fit my lifestyle.
Is it something, I think with a lot of these, it's like, is there a compromise? Would you, if you have found all these other boxes have checked and you're pretty convinced I am the one for you, okay, well then now where are we compromising? Do you have to have the wine in your life, or
Yes.
is that something? And for
No,
some people,
for some people that might be
it might be the case, and it doesn't make them whatever.
It's not wrong.
It's okay for you to choose, like, this
Unless
is the life
they
I want
want
to build.
heroin, then I think that is,
Lead with curiosity, babe.
why do you want heroin?
Exactly.
yes.
Yeah, I think go beyond the checklist. And
Yeah.
I love that you brought up lead with curiosity, honestly. With all of these, I think that's, yeah, it is. It's going to be our cliche. I think that we'll say every time.
I think it's just a great life lesson, something that I still try and practice every day. I'm not perfect at it at all. I will be quick to judge sometimes for other people, for you, for myself, and I have to remind myself.
So, were you confident when we got married that I was the one for you? Did you think you had found the one?
Yes, I think I had found the right one, and the one that I chose, the one that I wanted to spend every minute of the rest of my life with. So much so that we've joked about if the other person dies. At the moment, I am literally I do not want to be with somebody else.
So no matter how much you think he's a great guy, even if you kill me, he's still not on the table.
Unless they start a podcast with me, Majorly Married 2.0. I'm just kidding.
What? I wanted to cuss you out just then.
That's appropriate. But yeah, ultimately, I thought looking at this list, it was this plus 1,000 other reasons that it was so certain in my mind. What about you?
You asked with a chuckle because you know my answer.
I do.
When we got married, you were 98% the one for me. And that 2% scared the crap out of me. I was aware that there were still things I didn't know about my future. I had gone through a major transition in my life, and I was aware that those transitions happen. And it just so deeply scared me to commit to you, even after all of those conversations. And knowing how good you were for me and how good I was for you.
Mm-hmm. I think the funny thing is we probably both felt the same thing, or we both recognized the same thing.
I think we had the same 2%.
Yes. And the point I was trying to make is again, all of these and the 1,000 conversations that you can have before you get married. as we talked about in the very beginning, that like reaching versus settling. I think you and I both recognized I'm reaching in some areas, I'm settling in other areas. I was the type of person to be like, I'm fine with that. And you were like, what if that's actually making the wrong decision? Like, why are we not perfectly aligned on all 1,000 things? Maybe there's somebody out there that I am 1,000, I'm batting 1,000.
We almost broke up in the middle of our relationship the second time. As
Yeah.
it was a me thing again. I think I compared you to
Ice cream.
strawberry ice cream or something like that.
You were like, look, you're a flavor. And to preface, it was because you didn't have a lot of dating experience.
Yeah.
So I was like,
You were my first boyfriend.
first real boyfriend, and as you were starting to like, I want to get out there and date, and I was like the first person that you got out there and really started dating. So yeah, you were comparing me to ice cream, where you're like, look, you're like strawberry ice cream. I love strawberry ice cream. It's great. I don't know if I want strawberry ice cream every single day for the rest of my life.
I've never even tried the other flavors.
And I think I joked, I'm like, yeah, you haven't tried chocolate. And you're like, yeah.
Maybe chocolate would be fun.
Yeah.
Ice cream.
And, I think the funny thing is we go back to that often of like that comparison of like, hey, we're feeling this way now, but like, what if I don't feel that way in the future? We keep talking.
Yeah.
That's the moral of the story for us. Is like, what works for us is continual communication. If that works for everybody, probably not. There is no one size fits all on marriages.
And I will say, me breaking up with you that first time was the right decision.
Of course.
And it helped reinforce that you were the one. Me not breaking up with you the second time and deciding strawberry ice cream is great for me, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I had the little plague of doubt in the back of my head that I knew there were other ice cream flavors I hadn't tasted, but I was ready to stay. I was ready to commit. It was the right decision. So if you're in a relationship with somebody right now, and you're dating and you're sitting there going like, I'm just not sure. I think I need to walk away. Like, that's not wrong. It's not wrong to walk away, and it's not wrong to come back. I know
No.
it might not always be an option. Like, you got to be willing to let it go if you're going to walk away. Like,
I think funny enough, it was like I didn't necessarily mean to give you an ultimatum, but during that,
totally did.
but I did on accident, where I was just like, hey, if you want to go and try some other flavors of ice cream, that's your choice. I'm like, I want you to be happy. That is all that I want. I cannot guarantee. I'm not going to sit and wait.
You will never taste strawberry ice cream
That's
again.
not what I said. It was like you will have broken up with me twice at that point. Getting back together for a third time, it would be difficult for me because I'd be like bracing the entire time of like, when is she going to dump me for the third time? When's she going to dump me for the fourth time? Like,
yeah, that's fair.
But and also like at that point, I was like, I don't think I can wait. Like, you are worth waiting for, but I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I could like see you dating somebody else and be like, well, maybe she'll realize that I'm actually better for her. Like, I wasn't gonna do that to myself.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad that we had that conversation. I think every single action that we took, positive, negative, neutral, it got us to this point right now, and I'm very happy with where we're at right now. So everything, in my mind, every decision was the right decision.
Yeah. I think being afraid of making the wrong decision might come from a place of, I just said it out of fear. And I would really encourage somebody to look at it from a place of love. Like, am I loving this person to the best of my abilities, and can they love me?
Yeah.
Not what if. Because the what ifs still exist. Like, there are still thousands of other girls and guys out there, and bluntly, there's probably somebody more attractive than both of us, and somebody smarter than both of us, and somebody who's more financially compatible, whatever. Like, I can probably find someone more compatible in any one given area, and so could you.
But it's the entire package.
Yeah, and then on top of it, it's the choice that was made. And seeing both people make that choice day in and day out. And when those choices aren't being made anymore, therapy.
Therapy. Couples therapy. Yeah. So I think kind of to wrap it up, the 5 categories that we determined we knew each other were the one was emotional, values, physical, lifestyle, and spiritual / worldview. All of those plus there's probably 20 different categories, and like we've said, like 1,000 different subcategories.
No, I kept thinking as we were talking, I'm like, I've got more categories that are like subcategories that are flying in my head, and I just need to shut up.
Yeah, because we can talk for days on this.
Yeah.
But I think build your own list, figure it out, and then I think another episode that we can do is like, how do we keep this alive? How do we keep each other as the one?
Yeah.
Multiple years into marriage with a kid, how it all changes, and we've alluded the 1+1. We've alluded to it, constant communication, but how?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I am really grateful that you chose me, and I am very happy that I chose you.
You're welcome.
And if you guys have any ideas of any categories that we left off the list that you're like, how could they not think of this one? It's the most important one. You should share that, because I think it would be valuable for everybody to be able to benefit from all of our wisdom.
Let us know.
Yeah. But until next time.
Until next time.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
All right. See you later.